Hello, Pioneers. It's Teresa here from the Pioneer Career Center, and I want to give you a little primer today on creating a knockout resume and cover letter. For your future, you're going to need this document. You're going to need it moving forward. The beautiful thing is, if you'll create a great one now, you can use that as a great template and a framework moving forward down the road. So jump in with me now. First of all, I want to remind you one thing about a resume. It's not a one and done. You can't just put this together and then go make 400 photocopies of it. You really want to be able to tailor it as you go to different businesses, as you apply maybe for a slightly different position. You want to be able to tweak it somewhat. So again, look at this as a great foundation, a great framework that you can then build on and use that document. That's the beauty of electronic documents, is you can save different versions of it, or maybe you just keep it updated and you save, as you make changes. So those are good things to know and keep in mind. So the best thing I can tell you is you want to be super simple. You want to keep it really simple. You want to stay at one page, if at all possible, on both a resume and a cover letter. And you want to make sure you're not being super flowery and real decorative, because you don't want anything that makes it hard for people to read. Simple heading at the top. It almost looks like letterhead for a lot of people, with your name and your contact information very clear at the very top. And then you're going to go into your resume document. And when you do that, you want to make sure you're using a very clear and easy to read font. I love a sans serif font like an Arial or a Helvetica, super easy to read and clear. I also love a great serifed font like New Times Roman or Garamond, something very easy and readable. Black ink, white paper, usually pretty simple. Another thing you want to remember is that the most concise way to present your information is the best way. I know it's super tempting, especially for our adult students who may have 30 years of work experience under their belt like I do, to want to dump every single thing you've ever done on paper, because it makes you feel like you've accomplished something, right? Like a one-page resume is for people who are right out of college. Not necessarily. The most important thing about your resume is what? That it gets read and that it helps you find the right job. So if you dump 4 pages of information and someone flips through page 1, barely makes it through page 2, and sits it down, it doesn't matter what you have in there, it's not getting read. It also begins to look a little desperate, and if it's not super good quality information, it just bogs people down. They're going to think, okay, too much work, set it aside. So that's why I say 1 page, 2 at the very most. Now, you may be in some kind of field that is super different. Maybe you're in the military and you're applying for another position within the military, and they want that laundry list of all the things you've ever done. That's fine. Tailor it for the field that you're going into. You need to know that and know that that's an exception to that rule. But if you're going to work in a regular civilian corporation, you need to keep it as brief as possible. So let me tell you how you can do that. Number 1, you want your education to be top, front, and center. For the most part, if you're trying to advance in your company, or maybe you're getting education so that you can advance in rank or whatever you're doing, that education is a key piece. That's why you're getting it. So you want it to be one of the first things people see. So typically you're going to have your name and your contact information. You're going to have an objective section maybe that shows some of your goals and things you want to achieve, maybe a little bit about you in a very short summary paragraph. And then that education needs to be front and center. And put the date on there that you're graduating. If it's coming up within a month or 2, just put estimated graduation or expected graduation, whatever. If you're still going and you've got a little ways, just put estimated graduation and let them know when you might be finishing that degree. It's not a big deal. You also want to use the exact formal title of your degree. It's not a bachelor's of education. It's not a bachelor of whatever. It is a Bachelor of Applied Science in Business Administration, a Bachelor of Arts degree in psychology. You want to be very formal with it so it matches your transcripts, it matches your diploma, and everything looks above board, right? Don't try to fluff up the name of your degree. That'll flub you up down the road. Okay. Then after your education, you can go into work history. Now, here's where a lot of people get kind of bogged down, right? Like, I've had 900 jobs. I've been everything from a dog walker to a corporate CEO. Here's what I say. Pare your work experience down to the relevant things for the next job you're applying for, right? Because that's really what a resume is for, is your next job. So if you are applying for a management position and you've had several management roles in the past, or maybe assistant management roles, or even roles that have led you to develop skills that would make you a good manager, that's what you include in your resume. So if you were a Sonic car hop when you were 17 and there's really nothing you can apply to your future job, don't include it. Just don't put it on there at all. Here's how you handle that. You call that section relevant work experience. And then you include jobs that are relevant to the next job you're wanting to get. Again, future goal. Then you can put a line at the bottom that says complete work history available upon request. There you go. Just like you handle the line with your references available upon request, so they don't kick your resume into a big long document. You can do the same thing with your work history. Now have that ready. I would complete yourself a document that's a full work history with all the details, because some people will want that so they don't show gaps in your work history or anything like that. But for the most part, this next employer just wants to know, what do you have relevant to the position that I have available? That's what you want to show them. In essence, you want to do their work for them, okay? Don't make them turn into detectives, right? So, yes, a smart HR person, a smart hiring agent will be able to look through your stuff and sift through and figure out, but the more work they have to do in your resume, the more likely they are to go, too much trouble, and toss it. So think about the position you're trying to get. If you're looking for that management role, give them the necessary information. Look at the job description that they put out. Pay attention to what the company's asking for. If they're asking for certain skills or certain certifications, maybe they want to know that you've managed X number of people, put those kind of details in there, because you want them to know that you're paying attention. That's a huge deal in any job, right? That you pay attention to detail. So you want them to know that you do by paying attention to their job posting. Tailor your stuff to those job description points that they want. If there's something in the job description that you don't have, but you're willing to learn, you can include that. Or you can just not include it at all. It'll come up in an interview. That's when you can say, that's the one thing I don't have experience in, but I'm really ready to learn and I'd love to sharpen my skills with you guys. You can handle it that way. But one of the things I want to point out too is don't ever make anything up. Don't embellish your skills. Don't say you have certifications you don't. Don't turn an associate's degree into a bachelor's degree, because all those things are lies and they will find you out and it will not be a pretty thing. So be very forthright with things. You can soften some things, but do not create skills for yourself that you don't have, because you'll be called to the carpet on them. Okay. Another thing I want to point out is underneath your work history. So as you're beginning to list those management jobs you've had, right, you want to make sure that you're using bullet points. Number one, long paragraphs of text. If you're like me, you're kind of like, things to read. People don't want to read long tomes unless they're sitting down to read a novel. So your resume should not be lots and lots and lots of paragraphs of text. It should be easy to read in snippets. So I recommend bullet points. It's the easiest thing. People see bullet points, they know they can read it in quick snips. That's what they're looking for. So I want you to take your work history. This is where the challenge comes in. I want you to take your work history and those bullet points underneath, and by the way, 4 maximum, and translate them, not duties, not I filed paperwork, I answered phones, I held meetings. We know you did that. Everybody does that, right? What we want you to do is translate those bullet points into skills you learned, achievements, qualifications that made you now prepared for that next job. So let's say you or were a sales manager and you grew your sales by 20% in 1 year. Those are the kind of things you want on a bullet point, right? Because that's going to show that leadership. Oh, okay. They know how to produce. They know how to produce. Let's say one of the things you did was to obtain a really special certification or master a really hard software program that you think the next company may use or that is industry standard for you. Mention that. That's a good thing to list on there, is mastered the art of XYZ program. Because again, that's going to show that employer that you have a skill that's going to benefit them. And that's really what they want to know. Not what you did for all these other companies, but what are you going to bring to the table to make yourself a qualified and an amazing employee for this company. So focus on that. I know it feels like we're asking you to cut years and years of your life down to chunks, and we kind of are. But again, the most important thing is readability. You want someone to read through this whole document and be like, wow, like they got a lot of great information in one single page, possibly two. If you can keep it to one, and if you have to go to a second page, try to cut it to a half. That way, when they flip the page, they're like, okay, there's not a lot, and they'll continue to read. If they're like, oh my gosh, this thing keeps going on for days, I'm probably going to just chunk it. That's a word I hear from HR managers who do this on a daily basis. If you're someone like our friend that did the lecture on jobs that reads 50 to 100 resumes a day, he's not going to read a 4-pager. He's just not. It's the way life goes. So keep it simple. Okay, let's talk just for a minute about your cover letter, because your cover letter accompanies your resume. You do not want to dump everything from the resume into the cover letter. They're already going to get that. The cover letter is where you get to say some things that are really hard to intimate in a resume. Things like your personal goals, things like your personal motivation, things that explain to these folks why you are the best fit for this company in a really quick snippet. Again, single page. I love the ones that I've seen recently that say, I'm excited to apply for the position of store manager. Here's why I think I'd be a great fit for you. And they list 4 or 5 bullet points. Again, they're kind of summarizing their skills. They're bringing some of those important things to the very top, because the cover letter is going to get read probably before the resume does. And they're basically making it easy on that employer to go, okay, I want to read more. I want to know more about this person. It's okay to sound like, hey, I'm the best fit for this company. Let me tell you why. If you're not confident in your skills, they're not going to be confident in your skills. So you need to be confident if you think you're a great fit for a place. I always say that a cover letter is also a good place for you to show that you're doing your homework about a particular company. So if you want to work for Microsoft, go do a little bit of homework on what is their company culture like? What makes you want to work for a place like that? Let's say that you want to go to work for a corporation that is known for their family values, and that's very important to you. Say that in the cover letter. I love that XYZ Corp is known for their family values, and that is super important to me. I would love to align myself with a company that shares the same beliefs I do. That's a great way to put it. Number one, it shows that you've done your homework. You've looked at what the company's about, and that it really does align with you. You want to make sure that you have done that homework and that it is a place that you think you can work. So do that ahead of time. Both of these documents can be super easy. Don't let them totally freak you out. If you have done a resume before for another course, then if you're doing one for our senior seminar course, start with that document. Let that be kind of your guide and kind of go from there. If you've never done one before, this is a great time to jump in and have one. You need to make sure as you're completing a college degree that you have that resume and cover letter ready to go. Hopefully you don't need it a ton, but you may, and you want to make sure you have it ready and you don't have to recreate it every single time you find yourself at that place. So if we can help you in any way, please reach out to me at the Pioneer Career Center. I'm always available to help. I also would love to help you with interview skill brush up. If you want to do a mock interview with me, I'd love to help you with that. I'll read over your resume and give you any kind of feedback, and would be glad to help you with that. Now, if you're watching this for a senior seminar class, make sure you're paying attention to the syllabus about when the due date is on your resume and your cover letter. and you're making an appointment with our multidisciplinary tutorial services to get that professional critique from them. I always send you some feedback as well, but it never hurts to put extra eyes on something. Someone will catch something that someone else does not. So best to you. We're here to help you, and great job already on a fabulous resume. Have a great one.